My friends, one of the greatest deceptions of our time is that evil does not announce itself. It doesn't walk into your life dressed in black or carrying a warning sign. No, it comes smiling, soft-spoken, kind, and generous. It looks like everything you have prayed for: understanding, comfort, even godliness. Evil wears the mask of light. When Satan entered the garden, he didn't come roaring like a lion. He came whispering like a friend. That is how it always begins. Not with darkness, but with the illusion of light. I remember a man who once joined our congregation many years ago. He came faithfully, sat in the front row, clapped the loudest, smiled the widest. He would often tell people, "Oh, Pastor, I'm praying for you." And for a time I truly believed his heart was pure. But slowly I began to sense something. Not in my mind, but in my spirit. Every time he was around, there was a strange heaviness that followed. The joy in the room dimmed. People began to argue. Small conflicts started, and a cloud of confusion hung over what was once filled with peace. I prayed and asked God, "Oh Lord, what is this?" And the Lord said, "You are looking at his face, not at his fruit." You see, my brothers and sisters, the fruit of a person's life reveals the root of their heart. Jesus said, "A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit." It is not about what people say, or how they appear, or how much they give. It is about the spiritual trail they leave behind. When a person walks with the Spirit, peace follows them. But when an evil person walks among you, confusion and weariness will start to grow. You may not see it at first because their words are honey, but their intentions are poison. Evil knows the power of disguise. It studies your wounds, learns your weaknesses, and pretends to care just long enough to enter your trust. It flatters you so you will open your heart. It offers sympathy so you will lower your guard. And once it gains your confidence, it begins to drain your peace, your strength, your joy, until you start to doubt yourself, even your faith. That is how evil operates, not by storm but by shadow. It doesn't destroy you at once. It slowly steals your light until you cannot see the difference between kindness and manipulation. And yet, my dear friends, the Holy Spirit within you never sleeps. Even when your eyes are deceived, your spirit knows. You will feel the unease, the tightening in your chest, the quiet whisper saying, "Oh, something is not right." Listen to that whisper. It is not fear. It is the voice of protection. When you meet someone who shines too brightly but carries no peace, take a step back. When their charm feels overwhelming but your heart feels restless, that is your warning. For not every smiling face carries light, and not every gentle word carries love. I tell you today, learn to look at the fruit, not the mask. Because no matter how beautiful the disguise, evil cannot bear the fruit of peace. A heart rooted in darkness will always reveal itself through division, envy, and deceit, and a heart rooted in God will always reveal itself through love, patience, and truth. The mask may shine for a while, but it will crack under the weight of its own lies. Trust not the face that flatters you. Trust the spirit that brings peace. You can always recognize an evil heart by what it hungers for. It doesn't crave peace or connection. It craves control. It does not seek to love you. It seeks to use you. Evil thrives on the feeling of power, on having the final word, on bending others to its will. It can sit beside you, smile with you, even pray with you. But its heart is calculating every move, every emotion, every opportunity to take the higher ground. When evil sees joy in someone else, it burns inside, because joy cannot be manipulated. It wants you dependent, uncertain, and small. That is the food evil eats. Your confidence, your clarity, your courage. When I was pastoring a small congregation many years ago, a young man came to me, full of energy and vision. He said all the right things. "A pastor, I want to serve. I want to help grow the ministry." He carried a Bible wherever he went, quoted scriptures, and spoke like he had walked with the Lord all his life. People loved him at first. They said, "What a blessing God has sent us." But soon, I noticed something subtle. Every idea he had was about structure, control, and decision-making. It was never about people, never about love, never about service. It was about position. He wanted to decide who sang, who led, who was important. And when someone else was praised, a shadow crossed his eyes. Just for a moment, but it was there. I went home one night and prayed deeply about it. As I knelt before God, I felt his voice within me say, "That is not a servant spirit. That is a spirit of control. Evil will always cloak itself in helpfulness, but its true motive is dominance. You see, my friends, there is a great difference between serving to build and serving to own. The first gives life, the second drains it. The heart of a true servant rejoices when others rise, but the heart of an evil person feels threatened when others shine. That is how you recognize them. They cannot celebrate goodness unless they are at the center of it. Evil manipulates not through open attacks but through subtle control. It plays the victim when confronted. It twists kindness into obligation. It uses your compassion as a weapon. Evil says, after all I've done for you, not out of love, but out of strategy, because its goal is not your heart, but your submission. And once it gains power, it will use it to silence, to separate, and to dominate. But God does not move through manipulation. God never forces. He does not corner you into obedience. He draws you through love. His spirit never pressures. It persuades with peace. When a voice around you begins to sound urgent, demanding, pressing you into decisions without rest and not the Spirit of God, evil always pushes. God always leads. I have seen kind hearts fall into traps because they mistook pressure for passion, manipulation for mentorship. Evil thrives where discernment sleeps. That is why you must stay awake in spirit. When someone seeks to be above all, when they crave admiration more than service, when their kindness feels heavy, not freeing, you are looking into the face of hidden evil. Evil cannot build unity because it cannot stand equality. It needs someone to be beneath it, to feel powerful. But remember, true authority from God is born of humility, not hunger for control. The devil once said, I will rise above the Most High. That is the heart of all evil, the desire to dominate rather than serve. Watch the hunger, not the words. Watch the motive, not the image. For in the pursuit of power, evil reveals itself, always. To recognize evil, you must not sharpen your suspicion. You must deepen your discernment. Suspicion looks through the eyes of fear, but discernment looks through the eyes of the Spirit. One divides and isolates, while the other protects and reveals. Many people walk through life suspicious of everyone around them, thinking they are being wise, when in truth, they are only being wounded. Suspicion comes from pain, but discernment comes from prayer. Suspicion sees the surface. Discernment feels the spirit beneath. I have met believers who say, a pastor, I can tell who's good and who's bad. I can sense evil. But when I listen carefully, I realize what they call a discernment is just bitterness, wearing a spiritual mask. True discernment is quiet, gentle, patient. It is not loud, not defensive, not judgmental. It doesn't point fingers. It prays. When you are close to God, His Spirit within you begins to whisper when something is wrong, even when nothing looks wrong. That whisper is your protection. You don't need to accuse, you just need to listen. There was a woman in our church who once came to me troubled. She said, Pastor, I don't understand. There's a person I work with. They are polite, friendly, even generous, but every time I'm near them, my peace leaves. I told her that is discernment, not dislike. The Spirit of God in you will always alert you when darkness is near. It's not your mind reasoning, it's your spirit recognizing. When peace departs, that is a signal. So, when joy feels heavy, when the air around someone feels strange, that is not paranoia. That is divine sensitivity. Discernment is not a gift for the powerful. It is a gift for the humble. It is not developed through suspicion, but through surrender. When you spend time in prayer, when you learn to be still in God's presence, your inner senses sharpen. You begin to recognize His peace like a familiar fragrance. So when something counterfeit comes, your spirit knows instantly, this is not of... That is the voice of the Holy Spirit. Subtle, yet unmistakable. Sometimes people ask me, Pastor, how do I know if it's God speaking or just my thoughts? And I tell them, the voice of God always brings peace, never panic. It may convict you, but it will not confuse you. It may warn you, but it will not wound you. Evil loves to use fear to control, but God uses truth to free. When you learn to walk with that awareness, you don't have to fear evil. You simply expose it by carrying light. In my early years of ministry, I used to think I needed to confront every wrong spirit loudly. But as I grew, I learned something deeper. Light doesn't argue with darkness. It simply shines. When the presence of God is strong in you, deception cannot hide. You don't need to fight evil directly. You need to walk in such truth that it cannot coexist near you. So if you wish to spot an evil person, stay pure in heart. Pray not, O Lord, show me their evil, but, O Lord, fill me with your light, because light reveals what darkness hides. The more time you spend in His presence, the more your spirit will know without being told. You will not need proof. Your peace will tell you. Where peace remains, God is present. Where peace departs, something is wrong. That is discernment, the quiet strength that keeps you safe, the unseen shield that guides your steps. And I tell you this from the depths of my soul. You do not overcome evil by outsmarting it. You overcome it by outshining it. Let your heart be so filled with light that every shadow around you trembles. Let your spirit stay so close to God that even the faintest whisper of wrongness will ring clear. For no darkness can dwell where light chooses to stay.